Welcome to Dark Souls. Before I begin, I'm going to go over the goal of this Let's Play. I'm going to be going through the game following the standard path, whilst I'll point out sequence-breaking sections and possibly even follow some in alternate saves. The intention is to show the game as the first-time player might experience it, whilst at the same time showing off the optional areas, steering you away from common pitfalls. I'll also be covering alternate methods of approaching several points in the game, so that if one method isn't working for you, you can try something else. In short, this video should be taken as a guide to Dark Souls for the average gamer. So, let's begin. The first step is to character creation. The most important choice you will make here is which gift to take. Sex is purely cosmetic, and you'll be pleased to know that the armour looks pretty much the same whether it's being worn by a male or a female character. Your class determines your starting equipment and stats. It does not stop you from diverging from your path. For instance, you can start as a warrior and then pick up all the spell casting you might ever want. In this case, we're going to be starting with a warrior because I like it, and because I intend to show you a trick with one of the gifts before we go into the game proper. Now, when we get to gifts, there are a few notable gifts. The first one, Tiny Being's Ring, is one that probably drew your eye immediately because HP recovers slowly while equipped. Unfortunately, this is a lie. All it does is give you a small boost to your HP percentage. Secondly, the pendant. It does nothing. It really does nothing. The dev has finally come out and said the pendant does nothing. Well, actually, it's not strictly true. You can trade it in for an item, but that item is only useful for one specific type of character. Thirdly, the Master Key. This is used in a lot of sequence breaking. It tends to be a good gift for a second playthrough onwards. Additionally, if you make a thief, they start with the Master Key and you may select a second gift. Binoculars are pretty useless and can be obtained within 5 minutes of leaving the tutorial area. I'll cover how to get them. Black Fire Bombs. Black Fire Bombs are a consumable item that you can buy later into the game. The main use for picking them as a gift is an attempt to kill the boss of the starting area on your first attempt, which will drop a weapon that you won't be able to use for a while. I'll demonstrate that in a little while. The next bit is the old Witch's Ring. Again, it has no active effect, but it lets you talk to an NPC, and like the pendant, can be traded in for an item. I'm going to do an initial run with Firebomb, so that you can see the weapon. Then restart with the old Witch's Ring, so we'll be able to talk to the NPC further down the line. The name isn't too important in a way because if you interact with other players, all they ever see is your Games or Window Live name or your PSN network name. Physique just lets you, again, no real game effect, just changes how your character looks. It's not like Dragon's Dogma where your build controls how much you can carry. You can tweak your face to quite ridiculousness if you want. We'll just show you that for comedy value. So if you go customized, you can then do lots and lots of tweaking of your face. It can get really, really weird really soon. Very different. Then just start hitting the random key. Start to end up with weird mutant anime people. But to be fair, there's not actually any point in doing vast amounts of character customization, as you'll find out in a moment after the intro.
Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Right, if I just spin the camera around, you'll see why I said not to bother about our character's appearance. As you can see, we're very, very dead. If I just take off my armour, you'll be able to see. So that's why you shouldn't bother about what you look like too much, because for most of the game, you will look like that. Now, when you first start the game, you've just got a broken sword, and when you leave the asylum, you'll find these messages. These ones, with the knight as their symbol, they've been delivered by the devs to tell you how the basic controls work. I suggest reading all of them because I won't be going over that. You can fight your way through these poor sods, but honestly, there's not much point. You notice that number in the right-hand side. That's your souls. Souls are both coins and XP. And you'll notice this big stompy demon dude to the right here. We can fight him later. We won't be fighting him now. But just remember he's there. We've got a ladder here, and there's something you need to know about ladders, because I don't think it's actually told in the notes or the manual, is that climbing up and down ladders is kind of slow. But if you hit the back step key when you're on a ladder, you slide down it. You don't have to tap it, you don't have to hold it down all the way through. Now, here we have a bonfire. Bonfires act as checkpoints in a way, though the game is saving continuously all the while that you play it. Bonfires also refresh your health, refresh your healing item when we get it, and respawn all the enemies, except one or two extra ones. So we're going to show you down here is this door. There are many doors in the game, and when you come across one that says does not open from this side, it means it's a shortcut door that you will open from the other side. Because there's quite a lot of shortcuts in the level. Now, this place. When you go through here, but when we get to about here, this guy spawns. Now, normally what you would do is get through that gateway, but what we're going to do is hit him with the black fire bombs. Notice when I'm rolling, I take stamina damage. That was bad. I totally misjudged the thing there. what we've got here is an item called the Demon's Great Hammer, which is a good time to talk about weapons in general. Now, compared to my straight sword hilt, you can see it does a lot more damage. However, I can't wield it because I can't even wield it two-handed. Oops. When you try and wield a weapon that you're not strong enough to do, you tend to just sort of flail uselessly with it, which is funny but not very effective. So, let's just talk about its stats. We have its attack. We have the param bonus, which is how much the stats listed affect its damage and how effectively they do so. In this case, this has a B strength bonus, which means that for every point of strength over the minimum amount I need over there, 46, I'll get a bit more of bonus damage. The other thing that's useful to know about strengths, but no other attribute levels, is that if you are using a weapon two-handed, your strength counts as 1.5 times its value. For instance, with my strength of 13, I could two-hand a weapon with a requirement of 19, but I couldn't one-hand it. But anyway, that's a useless weapon for now, so we'll ignore it. Right, now that I've shown you how to get that rather useless weapon, I'm going to restart the game with a proper character and pick up from that bonfire before the demon. Right, our new character is going to be a rogue. Sorry, a thief, because that way I can have the master key and I can pick the old witch's ring to show you what it does. This is the name of an old character I had in the Bard's Tale computer games. Right, so here we are, back at this door. Now, what you're supposed to do here is panic around a bit and then dash through this door to the right, which opens just as the guy jumps in. Now we go through here and we pick up our shield. Let's talk about shields. What I have here is a target shield. This is a small shield, and the most important stats for a shield are physical reduction, which is the percentage of incoming physical damage it stops, and the stability, which is how much stamina you lose when you block a crit attack with it. The magic, fire and lightning resistances are useful as well, because there's some shields which are keyed against one thing, but those shields are situational. You'll know when you have to use them. The other thing is, this little shield is a lot better at parrying than a larger one would be. We'll talk about parrying when we've got an enemy that's worth parrying. And now we pick our weapon. Weapons, as I said before, have some attributes. Let's have a look at our bandit knife. It's got lousy strength scaling, pretty good dex scaling. If I was going to keep with it, I'd want to move my dex up. Now, the bandit's knife, you'll notice down there under Orc's effects, it's also got a 300. This means it does bleed damage. When something suffers bleeding, after the bleed has built up, 1, 2. No, these guys don't have enough hit points for me to demonstrate it, but I'll be able to demonstrate it on the boss. Up here is one of the opportunities to show the beauty of Dark Souls level design. If we look down here, it's a bonfire we just came from, and a lot of the Dark Souls levels loop around like this. First thing you'll see up here is a glowy. Now, you can't get this glowy yet. We'll be coming back to the asylum later to get it. And remember I was talking about the shortcuts earlier? Down here, we opened this door, and now we have a straight loop from up there where we have to go to that bonfire. You know, so we can't open these doors anymore. They've been locked shut. So we come up here, and what's this? A trap. Now, there's not many of those in Dark Souls, and you don't get a lot of warning. I mean, there are traps, but there's not many like that. What it has done, however, is knocked a hole in this wall. And through here, we find this poor old dude. Now, the clue that you should be able to get in here is that if you are paying attention round here, you'll have noticed him lying there as we came out of the door. Because there he is, and you can see him lying there, and you probably looked at this all and thought, well, how do I get in here? In this case, the ball knocks it in. In other cases, there may be hidden doors. Now, you're probably wondering, how did he get in here? Well, if we look up, there's your answer. He fell in. Well, if you can't target a person, they're friendly. Or at least, you know, they're initially friendly.
Oh, you. You're no, thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I were both undead. Hear me out.
Now, you occasionally get these decision points. The answer should always be yes, except in 2 to 3 special circumstances.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, thou who art undead art chosen. In thine exodus from the Undead Asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know. And I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask. An undead favorite. Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you. Now I must bid farewell.
So, if you don't want to listen to all that, you can just murder him and get all the stuff, but that would make you a monster. And the item he's given us, apart from a key for the door up there, is the Estus flask, our healing item. And the Estus flask refills. That's him dying. The Estus flask refills when you rest at bonfires. See, we've gone back up to 5 now. You'll be pleased to know that these traps don't rearm. Notice there, whilst I blocked most of the damage, a little bit it drops through. Oh yes, kicking. Kicking is quite useful because it lets you knock enemies back, kick them off cliffs, and break some shield guards. I'll show you when that's useful later. This is the first area in the game where you have more than one enemy at a time to deal with. So the trick is to not fight them where they want you to fight them. Because if we'd fought them in that doorway, there would have been an archer. So, this door leads to the boss arena we were just in. That's the way out. through here is a lesson on parrying. So I'm just going to show you how all these critical hits, how parrying works. I'll show you backstabs later. So the trick to parrying is timing. What you generally want to do is you parry their hand, not their weapon. And then the moment you've parried and you hear that boom noise, you hit your light attack and you stab them. Now, I personally prefer to parry with medium shields, because whilst the parry window is smaller, the recovery time is faster, so you can usually bring it up to block in the event of a failed parry, which you can't do with the smaller shield. Now up here, we're going to swap to a two-handed grip for the demonstration of a sadly underused mechanic in the game, the plunging attack. So we step down here, look what's there, drop down as we're falling, we hit R1 and we do a plunging attack. Now because this guy has a lot of hit points, we can show off the bleed damage. Now the trick to fighting this guy is really to get behind him. See, we do 1, 2, 3, 4 and he suddenly loses a whack of health. Something that's fairly counterintuitive about boss battles, or in fact any attack, not just boss battles actually, any attack, is that if you're going to roll, it's far better to roll towards them. This is because of the way the dodging works. When you're rolling, there are a few frames where you are invulnerable. If you roll away from an attack, you're rolling in the direction of it and will probably get caught up in it as it catches up with you. If you roll into an attack, assuming you've timed it correctly, your invulnerability frames meet the attack. And now we've got the big pilgrim's key, which means we can open this. Now, good job, go straight ahead. Now this is funny on the return journey, and I will show you why. Now, before we go straight ahead, you'll want to come round here. Just look round this little corner and pick up a soul item. These souls are a solid form of the ones we're carrying here, and they don't get lost when you die. I'll explain dying once we're in Firelink. The other thing to know, although we can't really do anything here unless I feel like trading in the Witch's Ring, which I don't, is this tiny little nest. As you get close to it,
you give me warm.
Now if you give the crow voice things that are warm or soft or shiny even, she'll give you things in return. I'll come back later and show you some of that. But full guides of what you can trade are available on the wiki and somewhat beyond the scope of this video. Anyway, before we get up to here, I'm cutting the video and I'll join you next time with the trip to Firelink Shrine, our true starting area of the game. Thank you for watching. This has been Mad Cat and Dark Souls.